What's up, YouTube? I'm on my break at work, and I just wanted to kind of have a message of not jumping the gun. The Bible seems to be divided between the imminent return of Jesus Christ, that the Bible has announced that, the major prophetic event amongst, many prophetic events is the return of Jesus Christ and the takeover of this world. But, the Bible also has a balance of, having some of these things take place over a long period of time, in that, clearly it's been, what is it, 1900 years since, some of these things were even written in the Bible. And so, even from a historical standpoint, these things have obviously taken a long time to develop. We have just entered into artificial intelligence, coming about, especially maybe on a public scale. And so I think it's so important not to necessarily jump the gun as far as making statements like, oh, I know the rapture is going to be in 2024. And, when you really think about it, you have no basis for making a statement like that, other than, a similar statement would be, it's possible that the rapture could be in 2024 just from different signs of the times. But, outside of seeing some of the signs of the times listed in Matthew 24 and, Revelation, you can't, pinpoint an exact time. And you can kind of wonder where is this person getting this time frame from of, saying that. There was a whole bunch of people saying, oh, the rapture's in 2023. Or you kind of have this general statements talking about, knowing the timing of the rapture. And so, I know of a few pastors who are old now, but they said, oh yeah, we used to preach in 1980 about how, the rapture must be, this year. I've even heard of a book that came out, was I think it was 88 reasons why the rapture is going to be in 1988. And so, yes, I think it's important to have that eager expectation of Jesus's return, and don't get me wrong, I'm excited for the rapture, and, I'm excited for things like that where, we're looking at all the wonderful things that God has planned for us, and especially when you get to the new heavens and the new earth and different things like that. But, you know, um, I think it's so important to keep a level head as far as, end time events and, figuring out prophecy and different things like that. There's many ministers who've been talking about end times for a long time, and not to necessarily sound like, oh, it's never going to happen. No, I think we are very close, as far as seeing a lot of these things in Revelation developing, and that's kind of the stance that I take in a lot of my videos, is that, we're in the end times, and the Bible has already stated that, we are in the end times. It's already written down, but it's important to note that that was written down 1900 years ago, 1900 years ago. And so, yes, it would be great to be raptured and not die, but at the same time, having that understanding that, it takes some time for some of these things to actually develop. In maybe 200 years ago, there was not necessarily some technology or some invention to have an image of the beast, or to people, being able to send gifts to each other instantly, or seeing the two witnesses being killed. Let's say you were in America, and you had no way to see what was happening in Jerusalem outside of the fact that there wasn't necessarily a Jerusalem like it is today, except for a Jerusalem coming into being in 1948. And so before that time, none of the prophecies could really even develop, because there wasn't necessarily a place for some of these events to take place, as far as Israel and Jerusalem and different things like that, And so, I do preach, from a standpoint of, being ready and being rapture ready. But, it's easy for us to get caught up in our head about, somehow forcing our opinion or how we think things should go, and trying to force that into some sort of doctrine or some sort of, teaching that we somehow know, God's plan. I could get raptured. We all could get raptured, while I'm making this video, so to speak. But at the same time, it seems like there are specific things in the Bible that need to take place, as far as leading up to that development for, some of these things. Um, you know, um, just shifting over to even a mindset for, the whole world being able to be on one accord as far as worshiping the image of the beast and different things like that. Today, I think we're getting there for sure. But, Jesus said one statement that Jesus said was that he will come when we least expect it. And so Paul did say that, of course, we are not in the dark for Christians. We're not in the dark where we will be able to see that day approaching. But in general, Jesus was saying that he's going to come when people least expect it. And it's not even when, something's kind of up when even unbelievers are starting to preach, kind of like, oh, there's something going on in the world, something's happening. That doesn't really line up with what Jesus said about how he's going to come when people least expect it. And, amongst other points that you could probably make, in that I think it's a time for us as Christians to start working and continue working, instead of having, a mindset of, oh, the rapture is happening, so I'm not going to do anything. There's no time to do anything. And, you have, these people who are amongst the Christian body who may be able to do more. Now, yeah, we all can't, start a huge organization and, feed 10,000 people or something. But at the same time, there are probably, members of the body of Christ who, are not having that right mindset in regards to the return of Christ. The parable of the 5 wise virgins and the 5 foolish virgins, even in that parable, it shows that, Christ did not come, or the bridegroom did not come when they were really expecting it, and they all fell asleep. And, I kind of go into more detail about that in some of my videos. But, it wasn't until the cry rang out that the bridegroom is coming, and then they all woke up and trimmed their lamps. And so, I just think, even if you do your own research about different teachings and preaching on the rapture, it's so easy for all of us to, assert that we know when that time is going to be, and we just don't know. And we have to keep that in mind. So thanks so much for checking out this video. I'm not saying that we shouldn't be ready, and we shouldn't watch and pray. We do have to keep our eyes peeled, you know, and I think it's also important for us to not get into scoffing where we start to say, oh, the opposite of this is saying, oh, I know this isn't the year for Christ to return. That's what we shouldn't say either, because, you know, I see pastors saying that too, in that, oh, Christ is not ready to return yet. And, we have no real basis for making, claims like that in, kind of that real world scenario of, really reading what the Bible says. And, to me, the Bible is in generalized writing. Paul has stated that we know partially, we don't know fully. And the Bible does give a lot of specifics, but it doesn't go into great detail about a lot, many things. I heard a pastor making a good statement about how it would have been impossible for you to predict all the specific details of Christ's first coming without actually, having it before, Isaiah, when Isaiah predicted it, and different prophecies in the Bible predicting it. They were general prophecies saying that the Messiah is coming and different things like that. But later on, once Jesus actually comes, in the New Testament, we're reading more specific, information about Christ coming. Like he was born in a manger, or, you know, um, the different specifics that we now know because of the New Testament, but it would have been impossible to really figure some of those things out, just from those prophecies alone. And so, I like to give the example of how in the New Testament, it's recorded from the disciples and also from the Pharisees that expected Jesus to fulfill prophecy in their own way. They had a certain idea of how Jesus would do things, and they were wrong. And so I think it's important for us to just leave room for God to do things, in his own way, instead of, coming out with all of these messages about these specific events that we know are going to happen in a certain way when we don't know. Another example is, this Israel war. I find it impossible for someone to, claim that they know exactly what's going to transpire from this war, whether the Antichrist is going to come on the stage, whether Russia is going to come down and attack Israel, and the whole Gog Magog war debate out there, whether Iran gets involved and different things like that. We just can't make certain claims, because I just saw in the news how Hezbollah, has retreated. And so, there was talk of, oh, Hezbollah might, invade Israel and different things like that. And so some of these things, that's why we're told to watch, because, we're just supposed to watch and look for some of these things to happen, not necessarily trying to predict everything that's going to happen. And, we have to come out with all these new videos, kind of like, trying to assess the situation. And so thanks so much for checking out this video. Hopefully this was helpful to someone, and I will talk to you on the next one. See ya.